Like it was a really good experience. Sir asked me questions from all the fields related to my DAF and the current topics. So I would say it was a really nice and wonderful experience.
What is the meaning of your good name Navkiran?
Sir, Navkiran basically means new rays of sun. Sir, I was born on 1st January in the morning at 5 a.m. Hence, my parents named me Navkiran.
Okay, that's really nice. So tell me something about the Moga.
Sir, Moga is one of the districts of the Malwa region of Punjab. Sir, it is basically known for its food processing industries, and currently it is an aspirational district, and we are seeing a lot of socio-economic development in these times.
What is the scheme of the aspirational district? Can you elaborate?
Yes, sir. Sir, aspirational district scheme is basically a hand-holding scheme of the center, mainly focused on the states to leverage the low-hanging fruits which the districts can use for their development. So basically, it is aimed at upholding the backward districts of each state.
And what is the smart city project?
The Smart City project is also an urban development scheme. Sir, in contrast to the aspirational districts, smart cities are already developed, and this scheme aims at further developing them by integrating them with latest technology and renewal, etc.
If you are asked to become a planner for the Moga district, what will be your top three priorities?
Sir, as a planner for Moga district, there is a issue of cancer, increase in cancer cases because of high use of fertilizer. So I'll aim at addressing that. Then there is an issue of low sex ratio in the district. I'll focus on that. And sir, the district has a lot of potential for the food processing side. So one of my priorities will be development of food processing in the MSME sector.
Right. Few months back, the farmers of Northern India, especially Punjab and Haryana, they had gone for a long battle against some policies of the government. So why there was a protest?
Sir, regarding the farm laws, there was a protest from farmers across India, but it saw a large participation of farmers, specifically from Punjab and Haryana. Sir, because the farmers felt that the MSP procurement will be finished after the implementation of these farm laws, and there were grievances related to contract farming also because of misuse by large corporates, and hence the farmers protested against these farm laws.
So the against the formula, there was more protest seen in the northern India. In comparison, as such unrest was not seen in the central India and the southern India. What could be reason behind this lag?
Sir, I think one of the reasons is the proximity of Punjab and Haryana to Delhi, which made it easier for farmers to mobilize and come to the borders of Delhi. The second reason is that both of these states see a huge amount of MSP procurement, which was one of the main grievances of the farmers. And sir, the other reason is that Punjab and Haryana both have a huge number of organized farm unions, which is not prevalent in as good proportion in other states. So I think sir, these are the main reasons.
In the formula, there was no compulsion on the farmer. They could have sold it in the mandi, they could have sold it outside. Then why even said protest?
Sir, in my opinion, the farm laws were aimed at modernizing of agriculture, and most of the provisions were in favor of the farmers. But sir, the main reason for protest was that these farm laws had been passed in the form of ordinances, and the multi-stakeholder approach had not been followed. So if these laws had been discussed with the farmers and discussions would have taken place, then I think they would have understood the benefit of these laws.
Recently, there are elections in Punjab, and if a party could able to win the election, we had promised freebies. And in Sri Lanka, we had seen there are a number of freebies promised by the party. The economic condition of Sri Lanka is not now good. and in Venezuela it also happened. So how you do you think there should be a national regulator who could keep a check on the electoral promises of the parties?
Sir, freebies are a part of the India being a welfare state because we have a huge proportion of population which is below poverty line. Hence, it becomes important that certain kind of welfare benefits are provided to the people. However, sir, suitable economic calculations should be behind these freebies because, sir, the development agenda of the country cannot be compromised when it comes to these welfare schemes. And hence, sir, a balance needs to be maintained wherein the welfare schemes and freebies need to be provided to the lowest rate of the population, along with a need for the development and other incentives.
So do you think there should be a national regulator to keep an early check?
Sir, I think the Election Commission of India is doing the job very well of keeping a check on the manifesto implementation, etc. So I don't think, sir, there is an immediate need for a national regulator.
So is it the responsibility of the election commission to look at the electoral manifesto of the parties? Do you think so?
That it is not directly the responsibility of election commission to look at the manifesto, but the election commission does keep a check on the kind of promises and the promises that the political parties make by because by ensuring that like there is a level playing field for the parties and there is no advantages being taken by a particular political party on the basis of the money and capital power.
So, tell me certain instances when the Election Commission of India has checked the manifestos of the party and it is directed to such parties. Give me a few examples.
Sir, right now I cannot recall any particular examples, but sir, I would like to mention the model code of conduct in this regard because this code ensures that the parties stay within their drawn discipline and the limits of the Election Commission of India, and unnecessary promises which are based on identity and religion-based identities are not done.
That is the point. That is the point. Even Election Commission has a circle within which it has to work, and its work is to conduct free and fair elections. And
Yes,
within
sir.
that free and fair elections, it would check that there should not be a communal, there should not be a caste-based manifesto.
Yes, sir.
But regarding freebies, can you tell me an example when Election Commission has intervened?
So right now I cannot
Yes,
recall
yes,
any
yes.
examples. I'll have to read about it.
You have to do that. So, what is the duty of Election Commission? Whether it is to conduct elections or whether it is to conduct free and fair elections in India?
Sir, it is both to conduct elections and to ensure that these elections are free and fair.
So, in our constitution, the term mentions is the procedure established by the law. So, what is the meaning of the term procedure established by law, and how this is different from due process of law?
Sir, the procedure established by law mainly looks at if the law is legal and the proper procedure is followed in the implementation of that law. While sir, the due process of law looks at the justice side of things, in which it ensures that the law is equitable and in the greater benefit of the society. So it is a wider term. Due process of law is a wider term as compared to the procedure established by law.
So, what is the opinion of the Supreme Court regarding the term procedure established by law, whatever mentioned in Indian Constitution? What is the opinion of Supreme Court in Maneka Gandhi case?
Sir, in Menaka Gandhi case, which was pertaining to the right to life and personal liberty, Supreme Court widened the approach of the procedure established by law. So even though the word due process of law is not mentioned in our constitution, but the Supreme Court said that this particular article, that is 21, should be seen in the ambit of due process of law.
In Indian Constitution, normally fundamental rights are regarded as superior than directive principles. So my question is, if there is a contradiction between a fundamental right and directive principle, 39B and C, what kind of situation it may lead to?
Sir, the Articles 39B and C, there is a safeguard that if there are in contravention of fundamental rights, still these articles are protected. However, sir, there is a doctrine of basic structure. So, Supreme Court in its judgments have said that if these implementation of Article 39B and C is in contravention of these basic structure, then it can be held as void. Otherwise, it is okay.
I hope you mean to say is the 39B and C are related with the basic structure. So if they happen to contradict with fundamental rights, so they may be given precedence. I hope this is what
Yes.
you want to
Yes,
reply.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How you see the difference between the human rights and the directive principles enshrined in our constitution?
So, directive principles are certain directions by the Constitution to the state for upholding of various socio-economic and human rights. So, I would say, sir, that DPSPs are also aimed at upholding the human rights of the citizens of India.
So which is more wider?
So, human rights, I would say, is a more wider term because human rights are the rights which are available to humans just from the existence of as human beings. So, human rights is a much wider term as compared to the directive principles.
There is a directive principle which has now become a fundamental right. Can you name that?
Sir, it is related to the right to education. Sir, earlier it was a directive to the state to provide education to children up to 14 years of age, but now it is a fundamental right in the term in 21A of the
So
Constitution.
while framing constitution, that time also why it could not be made a fundamental right? Why so late?
So when we were framing when the Constitution was being framed, so that time the country had was undergoing partition, and there was a lack of economic resources for the implementation of right to education in the form of compulsory education. So, sir, I think that was the main reason that it was not made a fundamental right and it was included in the directive principles.
And right to work, as it is given in directive principle, and right to work is a human right. But why you think right to work could not be made a fundamental right?
Sir, right to vote is included in
Right
the
to work,
Constitution in
right to work,
right
work,
to
W-O-R-K, work.
okay, right to work. So there are certain provisions related to right to work in the fundamental rights also. For example, the state cannot discriminate on certain basis in the terms of public employment. Then there is a freedom of moving to any part of the country for the employment basis also. So I think indirectly the right to work has been provided in the fundamental rights.
So how you see right to work in India as a constitutional right or is it a statutory right?
Sir, if we look at the provisions of the fundamental rights, then it is a constitutional right also. And if we look at various provisions of the parliament, it is a statutory right also.
So are you sure right to work is a fundamental right?
So directly, right to work is not mentioned in the fundamental rights, but certain provisions enable the right to work of the citizens.
So is it a constitutional right or a statutory right?
Sir, I would say directly it is a statutory right.
Okay. So the planning commission worked really hard for the planning of India, and after that we entered into era of Niti Aayog. So what are
Yes, sir.
the makeshifts you find in the working method of the Niti Aayog in comparison with the planning commission?
The Niti Aayog is basically a think tank of the government and it follows a more bottom-up approach as compared to the Planning Commission, which followed a top-down approach. And sir, Niti Aayog has better participation of the states, so it is taking India towards cooperative and competitive federalism. And hence, I would say that Niti Aayog is better suited to the needs and aspirations of today's India.
looking at the development needs of the India, don't you think there should be an all Indian cadre with the designation Indian Development Services rather than the cadre Indian Administrative Services?
Sir, Indian administrative services includes all kinds of development works, be it the social sector or be it the infrastructure side or the manufacturing side. Hence, sir, I think the IAS is doing the job really well when it comes to the development initiatives. So, I don't think there is a separate need for an Indian development services.
So, do you think India needs work in administration more, or do you think India needs more work to be done in the field of development?
Sir, in my opinion, India needs the work in administration which should be focused on development. So we need a balance of administration and development.
So, same thing. That's why some certain critics think since parallelly they have to play the role of development. So, why not change the designation to Indian Administration and Development Services? Because there are,
Sir,
even then they are doing the
yes,
dual responsibility. Even then there is a difference between the administrative responsibility and the development responsibility.
sir, there are certain administrative responsibilities also on the IAS officers. But sir, the administration is mainly meant for ensuring the development of the nation and for providing better public services. So I think an administration which is catered towards the development needs of the nation is the best suitable thing for India, and IAS is doing that very well.
Recently, during the occasion of Ram Navami and the Hanuman Janmotsav, certain communal
Yes, sir.
tensions were seen. So, if you
Yes,
are selected in civil services and if you become the IPS of such an area where you find there may be some communal tensions, so how you will handle such a situation?
sir, as an IPS officer, if I'm posted in an area where there is a fear of communal tensions, so then before such events, I'll deploy my forces in the vulnerable areas so that such events can be avoided. And if such a tension occurs, then the first step would be to soothe the crowd and request them to make peace. And sir, then as a preventive measure, we can form Aman committees in such areas which should constitute different religious committees which can inculcate a message of peace and harmony among the people. And sir, for increasing the monitoring and of these areas, technologies such as drones can also be used.
And the help of the intelligence.
Yes, sir. The technologies such as drone can help in technical intelligence, while fielding officers in the areas will help in the human intelligence.
Supposingly, if you are selected in IPS and there is a girls' college, and the
Yes,
sons of very influential politician, they come and they do the eve teasing with the girls, and the local Thanedar, they are not able to handle such a powerful politicians. So how you will handle such a situation? Now girls are demanding they are in a state of unrest, and the persons who are teasing them, they belong to the family of the very strong politician.
sir. Eve teasing is a very serious issue that is faced by the girls today, and it is a safety issue also. And sir, it can hinder the education if it is prevalent in colleges, etc. So, sir, my first job will be to encourage the officers at the lower levels, such as the thanas, etc., that they should file an FIR if the girls come to them for cases related to eve teasing. And sir, be it by local citizen or be it by a son of a powerful MLA, it does not matter because eve teasing is an offense, and hence the proper investigation and the process should be followed in the investigation of such cases. So I will basically encourage the lower level police dignitaries to follow the due process of law while handling such cases.
So you ask your Thanedar to file an FIR, but those girls are not coming ahead to file the complaint. So how FIR can be made?
Sir, the girls are not if the girls are not coming ahead, then we need to encourage the girls to take steps for their safety, because if the girls don't come ahead and report such cases, then it will be difficult to end such cases and bring such people into justice. So, sir, I can take the help of local NGOs and even their school administration to empower such girls to report the cases of eve teasing and other safety related issues.
You could have taken the help of the technology to go with the video recording of such incidences so that whatever FIR is there, that should be foolproof, isn't it?
Yes, sir. Technology can be very helpful.
So after doing BSc honors from St. Stephen's University of Delhi, what was your journey after that?
So after my BSc in physics, I did my master's in physics from School of Physical Sciences, JNU. So after that, I worked as a executive geophysicist at ONGC. And so right now, I'm working as an assistant commissioner under training in the Punjab Civil Services.
So do you think like in OBC there is a provision of a creamy layer? So same kind of provision of the creamy layer should be there for SCs and STs.
So the creamy layer criteria in OBC was introduced because the disparities in the social and educationally backward classes are based on income. While sir, SC and ST, the discrimination is more towards the social aspect and not the economic aspect. So I think, sir, at present there is no need to introduce a creamy layer criteria in the SC/ST.
So do you think for ST also it is a social reason?
Yes, sir. For STs and SCs, the discrimination is on the basis of social position of these castes.
Can you give me some example ki for STs that there is a discrimination on social level?
Sir, STs are basically the tribal parts of the tribal groups of the country. And sir, like for example, there were certain notified tribes in the British era. So they were notified as criminals just on the basis of their tribal status. While the government has now denotified them, but sir, this is an example of a social discrimination.
Are you sure कि tribes are notified as a notified tribe because of social reason or because of their illegal activity?
Sir, during the British times, it was mainly their selfish commercial motives which led to the such tribes as being notified. However, the government has denotified them, sir, and is providing for various welfare schemes of these
Can
tribes.
you give me a single example? A tribe is notified as a notified tribe on social basis.
Sir, I cannot
Problem
recall.
of SC and ST are different. SC can be
Yes, sir.
discriminated by social way, but for ST, the things are quite different.
Sir, I'll read about it.
So your hobbies are baking cakes, cookies, and pastries, kitchen gardening, watching Korean drama and movies. Watching Korean dramas and movies, is that?
Yes, sir.
So, what is so special in watching Korean dramas?
So the Korean dramas are very close to the Korean culture basically, and the family values are very close to the Indian ones, and hence they are relatable as compared to the English language movies and the dramas, and hence and also with the advent of Netflix and Amazon in India. these dramas have become very popular in the country these days.
So, can you name some Korean drama you have seen? Because this is your hobby, that means you oftenly watch Korean drama.
Yes, sir. Sir, I'll name a few movies and dramas. So there's a movie called Parasite, then Train to Busan, then there are dramas like The Healer, Crash Landing on You, etc.
So, watching Korean drama and movies is your hobby. So that means ki you don't. Do you watch like Hindi movies and dramas, Punjabi movies and dramas? Like?
Yes, sir, I watch these also, but I watch the Korean dramas more.
Okay. What is your concept of happiness?
Sir, my concept of happiness means having a good night's sleep. If I am able to have a peaceful sleep, that means that I am happy.
Okay. If you are asked to become the main planner of the Punjab, what will be your top three wish list you would like to see a change in Punjab?
So my top three, first one would be related to agriculture
Hmm.
because Punjab is basically an agrarian state and currently we are going through an agriculture crisis.
Hmm.
So second would be the problem of unemployment in Punjab, which has led to various social issues such as drugs, gang culture, etc. And so third would be the industrialization part of the state.
Okay. So currently there is a Russian-Ukraine war, and for collective peace we have United Nations organization. So can you explain me what is the role of UNO to solve the Russian-Ukraine crisis?
The United Nations organization is basically aimed at maintaining international peace and order. And if the countries are entering into a conflict, then UN can intervene in the form of certain resolutions, and the United Nations Security Council can make some binding regulations on the countries, which can help the peace to prevail. Hence, the UN is a very important body when it comes to maintaining global peace and order.
Hmm. My question is, what is the currently role of UNO in tackling the Russia-Ukraine crisis?
Okay, sir. Sir, UN has passed many resolutions, such as the UNHRC member of Russia has been dissolved because of the killings in the town of Bucha in Ukraine. And sir, UN is also helping the Ukraine in humanitarian aspects, such as supply of foods, medicines, etc.
So what you said, Human Rights Commission?
So Russia's membership of United Nations Human Rights Commission was uh, dissolved because of the killings at in the Ukraine town.
So have you read it? Ki Russian membership is dissolved.
So the resolution has been passed.
You have read it. It is suspended.
Suspended. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Suspended.
Suspended. So, do you think United Nations Security Council is tackling the Russia-Ukraine crisis nicely? If they are failed to do so?
So I would say it has been a mixed response because sir, Russia itself is a member of the United Nations Security Council and the permanent members have a veto power due to which substantial action is not being taken against this violence that is being done in the Ukraine. So the veto power, I would say, is the main hindrance in the working of the UNSC when it comes to handling this crisis.
So, do you think there should be a democratization of the Security Council of UNO? If yes, you can state some details.
Yes, sir. Democratization of UNSC is a need of the hour because, sir, if we look at the constitution of the UNSC, the five permanent members which represent the Security Council are basically the ones which were there around 50 years back also. But sir, the global order has changed. Countries like India are emerging as powerful nations, and hence there is a need for increasing the membership. And sir, the veto power, certain reforms are needed in the veto power also.
What kind of reforms are needed in veto power?
Sir, veto power provides an absolute power to the permanent members of UNSC. Hence, even in the important resolutions are not able to pass. For example, in the recent crisis, Russia and China vetoed many resolutions which were aimed at containing the crisis. So, I think, sir, reforms are needed in this so that a greater power to the non-permanent nations is also given, and it should not be an absolute right only of the five permanent members.
So you are saying the veto power is a hindrance, and when two other members also veto power can be given, so how it will solve the problem? It will further aggravate the problem. Rather, we
Sir,
should abolish the veto power and should take the decision on collective majority.
yes, sir. Like veto power can be transformed into a collective majority decision power.
On one hand, we are seeing the United Nations cannot take a proper step when it is a matter of a strong nation. On another hand, we see organization like WTO. When it comes to a duty war between US and China, it cannot take effective actions. So what should be the reform? What you need in the WTO?
Sir, WTO has worked collectively as an organization for trade, and it has proved to be a body which has increased the global trade to a substantial amount. However, sir, recent concerns such as the US-China trade wars, these were not addressed properly because, sir, first the dispute settlement mechanism of WTO, it is kind of suspended as of now because of the I would say because of certain nations. So, sir, an improvement in the dispute settlement process is needed, and also the WTO needs to be reformed to address the arising challenges such as the COVID-19 pandemic was there, the climate change is occurring, and the Doha negotiations, which provides fault lines between developed and developing nations, they need to be resolved.
So the WTO's dispute settlement body is suspended, or the appellate body is suspended.
Sir, I'll have to read about it. It is related to dispute settlement only, but I
Because
cannot
the
recall if it is the appellate
dispute
body.
settlement body has passed a decision against India because India is giving more than the prescribed 10% subsidy to its sugar manufacturers. So just 2 3 months back, the dispute settlement body has given a decision against India. But
All
currently,
right,
no
sir, I'll read
appellate
about it.
mechanism is working because of the COVID-19.
Yes, sir. Sir,
So
I'll read
anyway,
about it.
these bodies can be made more functional and strong, and they should be given more powers. Like, so coming to the NATO, don't you think what are the problems faced by the NATO in the current scenario?
Sir, NATO is basically a body of collective defense of certain American and European nations. So, the attack of Russia on Ukraine is a collective problem of the NATO nations because the main reason for this violence is the eastward expansion of NATO. And hence, sir, the NATO needs to relook at its eastward expansion so that there needs to be a balance between its own defense and the grievances of nations such as Russia.
So there is an organization called Quad. So how a Quad can do to counter the growing imperialism of China?
So, Quad is a grouping of four nations, including USA, Japan, Australia, and India. Sir, it is mainly aimed at ensuring a rule-based order in the Indo-Pacific and containment of China. Sir, as the military capabilities and the economic capabilities of these nations is very high collectively when it compares to China, so collective action will certainly lead to containment of China when it comes to the Indo-Pacific region.
Okay. Instead of the term Asia Pacific, nowadays in number of organizations, another term Indo Pacific is used, like especially in Quad. Instead of Asia Pacific, the term Indo Pacific. So tell me, what is the reason international bodies more and more they are using the word Indo Pacific instead of Asia Pacific?
Indo-Pacific donates two oceans. One is denotes two oceans. One is the Indian Ocean and the Pacific Ocean. So both are very important when it comes to the trade, and it contains emerging economies like India and China, and hence the term Asia Pacific has been extended to Indo Pacific because of the emergence of nations like India.
So you intend to say that this word is used by the growing some international bodies in some nations like Quad is giving currency to this word. US, European Union is giving currency to this word in order to say indirectly in order to counter China and promote India so that an order can be made in the Indian Ocean, right?
Yes, sir.
So currently some crisis can be seen in Sri Lanka. So how India can handle diplomatically such a situation in Sri Lanka?
Sir, India has provided economic support of the order of around $1.9 billion in terms of the supply chain and the other food, medical supplies, etc. And sir, in other ways, also India is negotiating with IMF to provide loans to Sri Lanka. And hence, sir, as a responsible neighbor, India is doing its best to help the Sri Lanka come out of this economic crisis.
Currently, there is a visit of the British Prime Minister in India. So, can you elaborate what are the outcomes of the tour of Mr. Boris Johnson to India?
Sir, there would be a increase in the talks for the finalization of an free trade agreement between India and UK, which would be finalized till October, as mentioned by the Prime Minister of UK. And sir, India and UK have also signed many new agreements in the adoption of new technology for tackling crises such as climate change, development of green mobility mechanisms, etc. And sir, the statement on the importance of humanitarian order and the cessation of violence in the Russia-Ukraine crisis.
So, did Mr. Johnson pressurize India in the Russia-Ukraine crisis in that context? He diplomatically handled it.
No, sir. Like there was no pressure on India. The situation was diplomatically handled, and it was a very balanced approach that was followed by both the nations, respecting India's historical relations with Russia.
ठीक. And now, last question. Starting from 1920 to 1947, 1920 to 1947, mention any five big events. 1920 to 1947. Any five milestone bubbles.
Yes, sir. So first would be the non-cooperation movement. So then it would be the civil disobedience movement which happened in 1930s. So then passing of the Government of India Act 1935, which influenced the formation of the Constitution of India in a major way. So you said till 1950 or 40?
47. 1920 to
47.
1947. Five events, five milestones. Now you have to pick
Okay,
up.
sir.
There are a number of milestones. Now you have to pick up five.
So then it would be the passing of India's Independence Act and the formation of Constituent Assembly.
This is the fourth one.
Sir, I'll list five again. So
Hmm.
first is the non-cooperation movement. Second is the civil disobedience movement. Third is the passage of the Government of India Act 1935 and its various provisions. Fifth is the formation of Constituent Assembly and the passing of India Independence Act 1947.
In your list, there is no Quit India movement like that.
Yes, sir.
in your list, the Quit India movement is missing. Is it
Yes, sir. The
intentionally
Quit India.
or by chance you have left that?
Sir, it is not intentionally, but I felt that these five were more important, so I mentioned these.
Okay, okay, okay. So India got the independence in 1947. So the exact declaration and demarcation of the partition, that was done before independence or after the independence?
So the demarcation, the Radcliffe Commission Award, that is, I think, what you
That
are
final
asking.
plan, yeah. When it was declared, before independence or after independence? And in both cases, why? The pehle hai to kyun, baad mein hai to kyun?
Sir, as far as I can remember, it was the declaration was announced after the India Independence Act passage, because the British did not want to take responsibility for the large-scale humanitarian and the communal violence that took place in Punjab and Bengal.
Correct, correct. Tell me any three reasons why you should be selected for civil services. Any three reasons.
Sir, I think educationally, sir, I have had a very good academic record, and that gives me a certain kind of aptitude which is required for the civil services. Secondly, sir, I have an optimistic approach towards things which will help me in the problem solving. And sir, third, I am already working in the state civil services, and the experience of these services and the joy that I'm getting in performing the public services will help me in the All India services also.
Supposingly, you are the secretary in Punjab and the minister in charge, he asks you to do something which is not as per law. How you will handle such a situation? Looking at you have analytical problem and also how you will deal with such a situation.
Sir, as a civil servant, the constitution is the Bible, and hence, if something is not according to the law of the land, I will directly convey it to the minister and convince him that the things should be done in accordance with the law. So I will, like, if he is asking me to do something which is against the laws, I will not do it, because the law of the land is the Bible of a civil servant, and nothing should be done outside it.
But even if he pressurizes you, because he is the minister of the department in charge, he can pressurize you. How you will handle such a stressful condition?
Sir, he can pressurize me only to a certain extent. If I maintain my resolve and I maintain my courage of conviction in such situation, then after a point he cannot pressurize me, because you cannot be forced to do a certain thing. You do a certain thing only because you want to do it.
You could explain him that doing an illegal work is it's even against his political career or the agenda of his political career. He will be in trouble, and even if he
Yes, sir.
pressurizes you, you could ask him to give in written what he wants. So if it is
Yes,
illegal, he
sir.
will not give you in prints.
Yes, sir.
And even if he does all that thing, so you could have tell him that this way, what the law says, it is not possible. Even if you are willing, you can take it to your party, and they may go for the amendment in the law, and this is how you can make it possible. So there are ways,
Yes, sir.
if he has
Yes, sir.
brilliant courage, and this is how problem can be resolved.
Yes, sir.
Okay, chalo, thank you very much. Your interview is over.